big hello and a very warm welcome to Brand Equity. Hope all our viewers are safe and well. Our heartfelt condolences to those who have lost their near and dear ones, and strength to those who are currently battling this wretched virus. Today's episode has a heady mix of the top marketing minds of the country. The Mobile Marketing Association recently held their Impact event, which had a session on the modern marketing perspective. I'm joined today by leading marketers to discuss just that. Modern marketing in the COVID era, changes in the role and structures of the marketing function, and of course, everything in between. So let me not waste any more time. And without further ado, let me introduce to you my distinguished panel. First up, Roshni Das, Director, Marketing, Intel India. Ajay Kakar, Chief Marketing Officer, Aditya Birla Capital. Rajnish Kumar, Head of Digital and Director Consumer Strategy, ITC, Prachi Mohapatra, Marketing Head, OTC, Emerging Markets, Dr. Reddy's Laboratories. Meghna Apparao, Chief Business Officer, Licious, and last but not the least, Moneka Khurana, Country Head, India, MMA. Well, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining me right here. The visual is just so brilliant. I'd like to crack a joke here saying that thank you, Rajnish and Ajay, for joining us. It enables our diversity tick for a change, and hope you all are well. And I'm really looking forward to this candid and intense discussion. Start with, how life has changed for all of you as marketers in the last 2 months. While at a personal level, of course, we're all grappling with personal tragedies and we're soldiering on. What's the thinking amongst you marketers and marketing departments in terms of your role within the organization, as well as your role as communicators to the external world? Let me start with you, Roshni.
Hi, as you mentioned, I think that we're all grappling with personal challenges, and everyone is staying safe. But to your question, Sonali, I think it's a great time for responsible marketing and communication, right? Digitization is inevitable, and I was saying yesterday that technology is now essential rather than optional. So as marketers, I think there are 3 or 4 things that we've had to look at more keenly. For instance, I think the lack of social cues, the lack of the physical human connection means that we've had to retrain, say, the frontline, our customer care executives for more empathy, right? Secondly, I find like a lot of marketers have to look at waiting for when the customer is ready to engage with you rather than push marketing, right? The sensitivity quotient has to be something that all of us have to value at this point in time. And I think thirdly, the pivot has been on purpose-led marketing, right? How can we be of service to our consumers during this time? And I think, at least from a technology background, given the fact that technology is such a foundational tool to make that connection now, we've had to move to a lot of conversational marketing, responsive marketing during this time. And of course, we can't not have this discussion without our employees. I think, all of us within our communities, our friends, families, are working in very challenging times. So building on emotional resilience for our employees has also been a great focus. So I would say these 3 or 4 things.
Let me bring you in, Ajay, on just, how you and your team have been changing the way you think and maybe even adapting to the new needs, the new sentiment, the new behavior that we're seeing around.
So just a few thoughts which immediately have become new priorities in the new era or the new times. To start with, I think marketers always thought of visibility, right? You have to always be in the market. You've always to be in the face of your customers. And it's a great time for people to do, I'm there for you, we care for you, we're just a call away. So the first learning that this has done for me, that it's not visibility that's important. And I know people say in these times, visibility is important. I think relevant visibility is more important. I'm not sure if you've seen the YouTube film going around, which has clips of many giant international brands sliced together. And if you see that one film comprising of many films, we are there for you, we are there for you, we are there for you. We care for you, we care for you, we are there for you. So with everyone talking about being there and there for you, I think relevance is more important. For example, in financial services, I know that health and money worries are top of mind of people. So at this point, instead of saying Aditya Birla Capital, if I say, I hear your concerns and how I can help you. So that's the first part, which is relevance. The second is, as marketers, we are always looking at acquisition. Give us this daily acquisition dose. I think today it's about retention of customers. retention of loyalties, retention of expectations. And therefore, it's not marketing equals mass media. Without TV, what do I do? Without radio, what is there? Without out of home, what is out there? You have to find ways to engage with people when they are at home, when they have other things on their mind, and yet to create relevance. And last but not the least, I think this has taught us marketing has to equal money sense. If you don't make money sense when your company is trying to conserve every rupee, you will not have a budget.
I think that's fantastic insight. And let me come to you, Prachi, because I think you're in a space right now where we want to talk to you as consumers, right? So it's a very different space and time compared to other categories and how they need to communicate. So what's happening, in your sector?
So the primary thing for us as marketers, Sonali, has been to actually reduce anxiety. I mean, I keep on saying this, that before marketers, all of us are consumers. We would like to be treated in a certain way with the brands that we interact with. And so goes for our customers, our consumers. And there is nothing, as I hear Ajay and Roshni speak, there is nothing more than what we can do rather than to humanize our brand at this point of time. And that's precisely what we as marketers are seeking. I mean, Roshni made a point about employees. At this point of time, it's so important for us to be able to reduce anxiety, give everybody a purpose to be driven. And if they don't see the new way of a business is being driven, then there is a lot of anxiety at the ground level. So for us, we have picked up the baton and are actually trying to, at this point of time, get everybody on board so that everybody moves at the same speed. They're aware what changes are being done. They're aware how the new ways of business is being done, so they don't feel left out. That's the first point to reduce anxiety. And so goes for our consumer. I mean, as a whole, I think the industry at this point of time is, rather than people seeking solution when they're sick, they go a step behind and look at people as consumers, as customers, and get the interaction going before you actually start curative solutions.
Rajnish, looking at the FMCG space, we saw FMCG brands really go all out in terms of marketing and communication. 2021 is slightly different because the tragedy is just at a different scale. But I mean, if any sector is in an opportunistic position, it's yours. How are you communicating with customers? Because I guess that you need to. And what is the change of tone and tenor, if at all?
Brands are in the space, like you said, of FMCG. So foods, people need to eat. I mean, I'm now looking after the ITC store as well. The kind of lift that we've seen in Ashirwad, just as Atta, I mean, we had to take up separate warehouses to fill up the demand. So the brand communication, again, for each brand, Savlon, it has grown 5 times in the COVID period, 5 times.
Sure.
So the kind of traction that we are seeing some of these brands, the brands still need to be true to their original idea or what they, the attributes that they stand for. Within that, how do you communicate it in a more compassionate manner, in a manner that's not very, full of bravado or something, very outgoing, something which is still somber, something which takes into account that people are suffering, and there is of course, as marketeers, even we are human beings. So I'm sure all of us have lost friends and family and have been in tough situations.
I'm just going to change tack and, come to you, Meghna, and then Monica. We're talking about modern marketing, right? And we're talking about the modern marketing perspective. And Meghna, you would be the most modern marketer simply because of the space that you operate in. And the fact that, it's via an app, and, you promise a 90-minute delivery. And of course, at the outset, I must say I'm a Licious fan and a loyal customer. But having said that, I want to ask you your perspective, given, you worked in traditional sectors as well. What is the meaning of modern marketing? And how is it different from traditional marketing? And are we just talking about platform differentiation, or are we talking about a more nuanced, reformed way of thinking? This is my fundamental query.
So I think interesting question you're posing to me. I think it takes me many steps back, say 20 years of step back across the industry in FMCG and then e-commerce, right? What has happened in the past is data was always many arms length away. if you did anything, if you put out any marketing communication, advertising, product mix which you launched, etc., it took you a couple of weeks, maybe a month, even more, to get products on shelf, then the offtakes, then the response. Yeah. And even then you worked with sample sizes of hundreds, maybe thousands, if you 1,000 if you were lucky. I think the massive difference that I see today is on that dimension, that you're able to engage directly with your consumer almost instantly and get a response back in hundreds, thousands, even millions in hours or even days. And I think on that, there are two parts to it. First is, and all of us, I'm sure, would agree that marketing is art and science. It's logic and magic. I think the logic part of getting the data out there and available is something we have moved miles ahead. But now that you have so much more data sitting in front of you, and the reality is on many data sources, the same data is available to everyone if they want to get it. How do you create that magic layer, that intuition layer that you build on top of that data to pick up the right insights and the right actions? You may come up with 100 ideas, you can execute maybe 3, maybe 5. Right. So as marketers, I think our challenge is even more fascinating, is how do you stay connected with the consumers and build that strong voice of consumer or intuition so you can overlay on the data and take the right action. And on top of that, I think a very interesting point, building off what Rajnish said, you need agility in this environment where things are changing so fast and your historical trends actually make no sense anymore. Because what we are going through right now, the world has never been through. So the way the consumers will behave, or we as consumers are behaving, there is absolutely no pattern. So to watch the pattern and punt on something and work with a rapid speed to come up with what we think is the right thing. And I think there you have to wear your kind of student mode. Whether someone has 20 months of experience or 20 years of experience, your guess is probably going to be, as much right or wrong. So the agility to take something out there, observe it, and kind of the humility to accept you're wrong if something goes wrong and wind back. And doing all of this, I would say, lastly, in a virtual world, because we are used to getting together in a room with our teams, with our agency partners, whiteboarding stuff, jamming sessions. And today, doing all of that over the Zoom call or its equivalent, I think we're learning new skills every day.
I think the major difference what I get, let's say traditional versus modern, is the fact that today marketers are okay to say, hey, we made a mistake and retract, okay to say sorry. They're more humble. They don't have misplaced arrogance. And the fact that you have, data tools to study and react, according to what is showing up. Monica, you've observed marketers for a while, and as the CEO of MMA, what would be your key observations on modern marketing? And what do you think would be the two biggest differences in terms of efficacy when you juxtapose it to traditional marketing?
A very interesting question. So I think as far as modern marketing goes, it's only emerging from the consumer modernizing himself or herself, right? Because the consumer, it's like saying marketers got to be where the consumer is going. So if any medium which becomes dominant becomes a medium the marketer has to go to, right? So that's what we landed up talking about, even when we were trying to evangelize spaces like voice and spaces like e-commerce or other modern media, where we could see that there's a lot of traction, there's a lot of scale, and hence marketer had to learn that space to see how they can better connect with the consumer who's there, because the consumer is not coming to you, you're going where the consumer is. So that's one piece as far as modern marketing goes, right? And your second question on the tangible changes hence marketers are making, or the way it is the implications it is having, is that the data-led culture in marketing organizations is growing immensely. There is a lot of focus and a lot of effort being made into investing into data-led culture, data-led capabilities, and there is a lot more openness to experiment, which was not there earlier. Marketers want to experiment. Like Meghna said, marketers are willing to be agile, even if it means they're making mistakes, but they want to do that because eventually it's like saying, you keep hitting the dartboard and somewhere you will hit the bullseye, right? But you got to be at it. You got to have that learner mindset, and, you got to be open to trying. right? So that's what MMA is also trying to enable as a body.
Sure. I'm going to, bring in Ajay for a contra view and, of course, to spice the conversation up. Would you agree that modern marketing is just a tag that we've given? I mean, you and I have discussed this in Cannes several years when it used to be a thing, and we have new keywords, buzzwords. And talk to me about A, primarily, do you agree with that? And B, of course, a lot of people have talked about data, and we've heard this now word: big data, small data, bite-sized data, deep data, all of that. Is data really is the data interpretation and collation really working in this market?
How long can you keep a name tag which is no longer relevant? So for me, modern marketing is a term which implies there's an ancient marketing which is possibly coexisting, or something which is futuristic marketing, which will soon follow. You keep changing the terms, but for me, it is not modern marketing. It is not media. And Monica will allow me to say it's not about mobile media. It is about marketing and it's about media. And marketing has to be relevant, whatever be the day, month, or year. Marketing has to be relevant, whoever be the audience, in the context of the audience, his perceived competition against me, and what is it that I can offer to him. As long as what I offer to him remains contemporary, the channels may change. Today I may have used TV, tomorrow I'll use digital, day after I may go back to, for all I care, radio. That doesn't matter, because it's to each audience, what is it that is relevant, and I must use that. So it has to be relevant marketing and it has to be relevant media. Modern marketing to me is just a tag. And I don't think we should stay with tags, because it undermines the power of what we all collectively represent, marketing. Coming back to data, I think data is very important because it helps you understand millions as one. No denying that. And we all know that. So let's not get into that. But I think the problem with data is data helps you analyze the past and predict the future. But when you have a future or a today which is unprecedented, how does data help you? And that's why I'm again coming back to traditional marketing, gut marketing, field marketing. You are a customer, I am a customer. You have to use data. You cannot be driven by data. Data can tell me the rational side of you. How can data tell you the emotional side? What will make that tear drop fall from your eye? Data cannot tell me that. And data cannot tell me, in a new environment, in a new world, what will I do?
Okay, let me ask Rajnish and Prachi if you have a contra view.
I will come in. So, partly agree with Ajay, but, the entire conversation of data is being, I think, more than making it easy to understand, we are all getting led by how big it is, how complicated it is. My conversation to marketeers I meet, or to my fellow peers also, is always that don't get led by concepts or trying to understand concept. Think practically what it does for us. I mean, all of us have like more than 2 decades of experience here. And all we have done is, as brand managers, maybe all of us actually used to pull out an Excel sheet, tabulate, cross-tabulate. That part is taken care of. Our life has actually, people like Roshni have made it easier for us now to actually take care of all these things. Now from here on, when we are moving ahead, taking a point from Ajay, life is easier to actually leapfrog from here and create that emotional connect and build it on, because now understanding data is far more easier, it has a vision, it has a mission to where the data is leading to it. So for me, I think that rather than actually getting into this entire understanding of concepts or data as marketeers, most of us just have to apply the practical side of brain. What we have been doing for 20 years, as Meghna also put, we all are getting here 20, 25 years of experience. And what we have to do is to make life better from here on by understanding this, that life has actually become far more easier for us at this point in time.
Rajnish, you feel life has become easier or more difficult?
See, when you look at ITC being a 110-year-old and an 11-year-old company and being in the mindset of Indian consumer for a very, very long time, and the kind of trust that we enjoy within the Indian consumer's mind, I think there is a 2 level of communication that we have at least within the organization. One is at a group level, which is ITC as a brand, because you see on all our ads and all our brands, you will always see that ITC logo. So one communication is that which is typically from the corporate communication, where we only talk about empathy and what ITC is doing We brought in some 25, cryogenic cylinders and oxygen tanks and those kind of things. So everything that setting up beds, hospital beds in 3 days and those kind of things. So everything that ITC corporate is doing is being communicated there, which is the empathy element and the compassionate element. So every time I'm asked this question, I just go back to myself and my own experiences, and then I communicate and tell the team what is right, what is wrong. A simple example I'll give you, which is very, very relevant. So an ad that we run for ITC store is stock up for essentials, and it goes up every time in the first week of the month, because that's typically where all of us stock up. But suddenly I got a call from my CEO, and Mr. Malik, sends me a WhatsApp and this thing. What is it? Are you asking people to hoard? I said, I'm not asking people to hoard. It's just that this ad runs every month for the last 6 months, stock up essentials. But suddenly in this situation, it has a new meaning. It looks like we are asking people to stock up and hoard as much as possible. So immediately within 2 hours, we had to remove that ad and start running something different and remove the stock up line and, say, shop for essentials and something like that. I think we just have to go back to our own experiences, and that gives us all the answers. And to answer your question, bottom line is at 2 levels we are communicating. One is at the group level and one is the brand level, which is still maintaining its basic attributes of what the brand stands for.
The last year was pretty unique in what I have seen in my financial services experience of over 20 years. The year you have to look at in 2 halves. The first half was actually there of shock and surprise, and the industry overall and Bharti AXA along with it on the life and general business both degrew. And the second half was that of bouncing back, getting to terms with how to manage work along with the virus, how to manage work digitally. Portion of the year, we struggled to strike or figure out how to strike the right insurance conversation, because there was so much shock and there was so much surprise. And what was relevant was to give the consumer a sharp proposition that would solve a specific problem or get the consumer to a specific goal, depending on their needs and life stages. More and more with these waves of COVID creating disruption and stopping face-to-face conversation, a lot of the 20 lakh agents that we've got in this country have to get trained and accustomed to digital engagement with customers. This very small but meaningful change can change the way consumers engage with financial services.